वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा गुरुब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Team Param Vedanta extends a warm welcome for the inaugural session of Atma Bodha, which is a prakarana grantha by Sri Adi Shankaracharya. It contains only 68 shlokas and all of them are in Anushtup Chandas, which is the simplest meter in Sanskrit. Every important idea of Vedanta is clarified through examples. This is the uniqueness of Atma Bodha. So, if Atma Bodha is learned by heart, it will be very useful because any idea that needs to be clarified, Epiti Shloka will help. For those who have studied Tattva Bodha, this text will be a revision which will also take them further in their pursuit. In today's session, the first 4 verses of Atma Bodha are covered. We have with us Dr. Anupama, Srimati Sukanya, Dr. Asha Nayak, and Srimati Indumati explaining the verses. Our revered teacher, Dr. Timappa Hegde sir, will give us an introduction to the text, besides providing us insights for a deeper understanding of these 4 verses. Over to you, sir.
Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We are now looking at some of the basic Vedanta topics. We will begin with what is the fundamental or the universal human problem. Let us see what is common to all human beings. All of us, wherever we are, whatever our age may, whatever our nationality, one thing is certain, that we want to be happy. And we want to be happy all the time. However, this happiness requires a prerequisite of security. Just like we say roti, kapada or makan. If the basics are not there, we cannot be happy. So security is a most important need. Once there is some amount of basic security, then we need a peace of mind. Can you imagine if a person is mentally disturbed, you cannot be happy. So mental peace is required. When security is there and peace is there, the next thing we look for is to be happy. According to our scriptures have something to say about this here. They say, this peace and security and happiness that we are looking for, which is universal, which is common to people of all nationality all over the world, is within ourselves. And they also have some very disturbing news. And the disturbing news is this peace, this security and happiness, particularly lasting peace, lasting security, and lasting happiness, is within ourselves only. What does it mean? It means that if you're searching for security, peace, happiness outside, such a search is a misplaced search. There is a very, what can I say, a very silly story. We have all heard the story of an old lady searching under a street light. And because she was old and she was searching, a young man joins her and then asks her, what is she looking for? She says, I have lost a coin, I'm looking for it. And so he joins her to help her. And after some time, seeing 2 people looking around in a street light, more people join. Ultimately, a small crowd look around the street light for what they are looking for, a dropped coin. Finally, one person goes to her and says, but where have you dropped it? Or where have you lost it? She said, I have lost it in my hut, but because there is no light there, I'm searching for it here. All of them look at her and say, you stupid old lady, however hard you search here, do you think you're going to find it? Now the story looks very stupid. But then if you really understand the stupidity of the story, we will find the truth that all of us are searching for happiness. All of us are searching for peace. All of us are searching for security in a place which is not there. If you're looking for it outside, it is going to be a misplaced search. So the truth is, whatever we are looking for is there within us. Now, if it is there within us, we should be embodiments of happiness, which we are not. The scriptures give us the next information. Although there is peace, security, and happiness, not ordinary peace, security, and happiness, lasting, everlasting peace, security, and happiness within us, they are covered. They are covered by multiple layers. And these multiple layers are given technical names. And as we are studying Vedanta, let us be familiar with certain technical terms, because these terms appear in the scriptures, and someday we have to address these terms. In English, we will say all these are diseases affecting the mind. The first disease affecting the mind is called mala, or impurity. The second disease is called vikshepa, or restlessness of the mind. We will understand when the mind is restless, it is a turbulent mind. You will not be able to discover the peace, security, and happiness which is there. And third, although I am already that, this is covered. It has to be discovered. That is called avarana. Let us go to the first layer of covering called mala. What is mala? As mind, I have desire. That means I am not happy, or my mind is not happy with whatever it is. And whenever my mind is not happy, the mind has a desire. That means if I can get this, if I can accomplish this, then I will be happy. That is called karma. And because I have karma, I have a desire, I will work for my desires. Now, if I don't get my desires, I will get very angry. I get krodha. If somebody else gets it, I will be jealous. That is called matsarya. Now, do you think I will be happy if I get it? I will want more. The need for more is called lobha. Now, when you have even more, when you have mada, or arrogance, and when a person is intoxicated with mada, the mind gets confused, or the mind gets deluded. So the 6 impurities that all of us have is called the 6 internal enemies, or ripuhu: kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, and matsarya. And unless I work on all these things, the peace, security, and happiness which is there within me, I am not able to discover. The second layer of problems in my mind, which block the jewels within me, is called vikshepa. And vikshepa is in the form of mental restlessness. My mind is turbulent. And as I've already explained, a turbulent mind is not able to see the treasures within. The third is all of us are born with ignorance. We are not born knowledgeable. And that is what is called our capital. We are born with ignorance. We are born with ignorance of all worldly knowledge. We are born with ignorance of all language skills. So too, we are born with ignorance of our true nature. And this born ignorance is called avarana. I am unaware of the fact that I am the source of lasting peace, security, and happiness. And because I'm not aware of the fact, I search outside of me. And this becomes a misplaced search. The message of all the scriptures is the seeker is the sought, which means I have to look for it within myself. Now, the scriptures not only give us this information, the scriptures give you certain techniques to help us to discover or remove these 3 coverings. And the process of removing these coverings is called sadhana or yoga. So there are 3 sadhanas that we have to follow for the 3 blocks. The first sadhana is called karma yoga. Karma yoga is required to purify the mind of the internal enemies of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, which are collectively called as malam or mala. Upasana yoga, or various forms of meditation. Mantra japa, that means the teacher gives you a mantra. And when you give a mantra and you constantly keep chanting the mantra, a certain mental quietude happens. And in the quietness of the mind, the restlessness comes down. And the restlessness paves the way for discovery of my true nature. Once the mind is not so restless, once the mind is free of kama, krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, then I'm ready to go to a teacher for the third sadhana called Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means getting spiritual knowledge. So now such a person becomes receptive for spiritual knowledge. Such a person can go to a teacher and to the scriptures to be able to discover our true nature. And these are the three sadhanas. Ultimately, these three sadhanas, three yogas, Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, they help me to reclaim my birthright, to reclaim my inner wealth. As Bal Gangadhar Tilak had said, Swaraj is my birthright and I will have it. Freedom, moksha, paramapurushartha is my birthright. I will have it. I will have it when in this lifetime itself. Now, for all students who are listening to this, let us make this a determination. In this life, I've had the opportunity to come towards scriptures. And I do not know what is going to, whether I'm going to get another chance like this. So let me make that resolve that I am going to do whatever it takes to be able to discover my inner treasure, just as Tilak had said, Swaraj is my birthright and I will have it. And he led a whole country towards freedom. Let this be our slogan. Moksha or Paramapurushartha is my birthright and I will have it. So, a little more details about these sadhanas or these yogas. What is karma yoga? Karma is something we always do. But if you do it as a yoga, when does karma become a yoga? Whenever it is right action. When is the action right? Whenever I bring a sense of devotion in whatever I do. Devotion means I'm doing it for someone I love. Whenever there is love integrated into action, particularly love for God, I'm doing it as a dedication. Any form of a dedicated action becomes a karma, becomes a yoga. That means throughout our day, whatever I may be do, any mundane task from driving a car to cleaning the floor or cleaning dishes or treating patients, whatever you may be doing, that can become a yoga. Additionally, there is another thing. One is right action and the right attitude. Right action means selfless actions. Right attitude is what I already said, Ishvara Arpana, as if I'm doing it to God. And for any action that you do, you will be compensated or you will be rewarded or you will be getting something in return for your action. We always have a certain expectation as the outcome. But a karma yogi is open to whatever he gets as a compensation. And that is called a prasada bhava. If I do my action the right way, that means the selfless way as a contribution, and I'm doing it in the right attitude, then what happens? The impurities in my mind, the kama, krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, will significantly come down, and my mind becomes ready for spiritual knowledge. The next level of teaching is various forms of meditation. The simplest form is called mantra japa. For example, the teacher gives you a mantra, Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama, and a japamala, and tells you how long and how often you do it. Normally, throughout our waking days, waking time, we are always doing something or the other. We are not used to sitting in one place and doing nothing. And when we learn to consciously slow our mind, do some task repetitively, a mantra like Om Namah Shivaya. Now, suddenly, we have gone beyond time. We are not in the domain of time. We are in the domain of eternity. And when you are so fully involved in what you are doing, that is a form of meditation called Upasana Yoga. And finally, exactly what we're doing in the present class, this is called Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means using scriptures and you using teachers to be able to discover my true nature and thereby to be able to discover that I am the oasis of eternal peace, security, and happiness within myself. I don't have to move out of myself to get these treasures. Now, what are these scriptures? Our scriptures are called the Vedas. The word Veda means a source of knowledge. Vedas are revelations by the Lord. And the Lord gives these signals which are downloaded by our rishis. And these Vedas have got four portions. What are the four portions of the faith? The first portion is called the Mantra Bhaga or the Samhita Bhaga. And this is important because these Vedic mantras make the diagnosis that I have a problem. Because as long as we think that I have no problem, I'm okay, I will never approach a spiritual teacher for solution. When you use mantra, the mantras help us to make a certain diagnosis that I have an issue, that I need to be able to discover myself. So I go to a teacher. So the mantra bhaga or the various Vedic mantras help us to discover that there is a universal human problem within me. Then the Brahmana bhaga gives various karmas. Karmas means various techniques that have to be done for accomplishing our goals in our life. The meditation parts comes in the Aranyaka portion. And the philosophical portion are the end portion of the Vedas, and that is called the Upanishadic Bharga. So the Vedas have got four parts. One is called the Samhita Bhaga, which give various mantras, and those mantras help us to discover that there is an issue that I need to work on. Then there is the Brahmana Bhaga, which tells you various karmas, various activities that we need to do as part of a spiritual evolution. Then there the meditations come in the Aranyaka Bhaga. And then finally, the Veda Anta, the end portion, tells you, gives you spiritual knowledge, which is the philosophical portion of the Vedas. Now, the Vedas are very voluminous, and thanks to Lord Sri Krishna, the entire Vedas have been condensed in the whole Bhagavad Gita in 700 verses. And Adi Shankara has clearly told us the study of the Bhagavad Gita is as good as the study of all the Vedas. So now we study the Bhagavad Gita instead of studying the Vedas themselves. However, we also study the end portion of the Vedas, which are called the Upanishads. And in order to be able to study them, we study certain auxiliary texts like Tattva Bodha. In today's class, I will give you a little introduction to what is this Tattva Bodha, which we are beginning. The introductory text, which we call Atma Bodha. Now, what is this Atma Bodha? Now, Atma Bodha is a prakarana grantha. A prakarana grantha is a supporting text which helps us to understand the main source of Vedanta, which is the Upanishads. The prakarana granthas may be classified as introductory. The Atma Bodha and Tattva Bodha that we are studying are both introductory texts. Viveka Chudamani is also an introductory text. There are some prakarana granthas which are considered as advanced prakarana grantha. These advanced prakarana grantha, for example, Drisya Viveka. Now, these are studied after the studying of various Upanishads so that our understanding of the Upanishads become more clear. Different Upanishadic ideas are questioned. Other systems of philosophy like Sankhya, Nyaya are considered, and their philosophies are analyzed. And through a process of dialogue, all the contrary theories and interpretations are negated, and the Upanishadic idea is very clearly pointed out in these advanced Prakarana Granthas. The Atma Bodha is a slightly more advanced text than Tattva Bodha. Throughout on these introductory classes, you will be having both Atma Bodha and Tattva Bodha. In Atma Bodha, the fundamental ideas are very beautifully clarified, and there are some important topics also. Every verse has got a very clear example, which you will see in today's class also. And it is a short text of 68 shlokas, and in Anustup Chandas, the same meter as in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, how do we derive the term Atma and Bodha? Now, the term Atma means my very nature, my true nature, my true self. Now, do we have an unreal self? Of course, my very biodata is my unreal self. And we always take our unreal self to be our real self. It is only when you come to a Vedantic class, we know there is something called the real self and the unreal self. And the real self is called Atma. The word Atma comes from Apnoti iti Atma, that which is all pervasive. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 7th chapter, there is a verse which says, Shri Krishna says, my sarvam idam protam sutre manigana eva. I pervade everything in an imperceptible manner. So to Atma is that which pervades everything. Everything in the creation and every one of us is pervaded by Atma. The word Bodha means knowledge. Now you will have a doubt. Now, both the words Atma and Bodha have something of knowledge. See, Atma means consciousness. I'm speaking, you're listening. Why are you aware? Because you are conscious. The essential aspect of consciousness is knowledge. So, consciousness means knowledge. Bodha also means knowledge. That means Atma Bodha would mean awareness. See, these are the things which are so nicely discussed by our teachers. What is the difference between knowledge in Atma and knowledge in Bodha? That means there are two kinds of knowledge. Now, from now on, till the end of my introduction, it is going to be a little difficult. But if you get it, I want you to get it. Now, the Atma in Atma Bodha, or my true nature, which is of the nature of consciousness or awareness, is eternal. It always is. It is also called Samanya Jnanam. It is of the nature of awareness. It is pure knowledge. It is not knowledge of any particular object. For example, I'm seeing the computer in front of me. When I begin to become aware of the computer, it becomes a specific knowledge. We are not talking about specific knowledge. We are talking about general awareness. So the Atma in the Atma Bodha, that part is called objectless knowledge or general awareness. Another nice term called for it is called Samanya Jnanam. Now, there is another knowledge called Vishesha Jnanam. What is Vishesha Jnanam? Now, I'm seeing the computer in front of me. How am I seeing the computer? Because of my eyes and my mind. I'm using a certain instrument to know. And this is a born knowledge. And because it is a born knowledge, that means it has been done through a certain process. It is called Janya Jnanam. In comparison to Atma, which is diffuse knowledge, which does not use any instrument to see or hear, but it is of the nature of awareness. This knowledge is not eternal knowledge. For example, English knowledge has come through a process of knowing. And because there is a process of knowing, it is called Janya Jnanam, or knowledge that has a beginning. I've already mentioned, whenever I use a certain instrument of knowledge, technically this eyes and my mind, which helps me to see, are called pramanam. The object that I see is called prameyam. The knowledge that I get is called prama. This knowledge I get is because there is a thought that forms in my mind. I'm seeing a computer. If I see a pot, a thought forms in my mind. I'm seeing a pot. Now, in Sanskrit, the word thought is called vritti. All right. And the moment a thought is born, then what happens? The original consciousness has now become a limited consciousness. What was general awareness has now become a specific awareness in the sense I am aware I'm speaking to you. I'm aware of the computer. I'm aware of all the surroundings. Now, that Samanya Jnanam has become a Vishesha Jnanam. Now, Vishesha Jnanam has got various practical applications. For example, to handle and go around in the world, we need all forms of Vishesha Jnanam. So we need objective knowledge. You need medical knowledge, we need engineering knowledge, we need all forms of social knowledge. And to know ourselves also, to get that I am Atma, that is also Vishesha Jnanam. So we have two forms of knowledge. One is objectless knowledge, which is called Swarupa Jnanam, which is called Ajanya Jnanam, or as it is called Samanya Jnanam. Now, I'm using different terms because these different terms come in different. Now, let us analyze this Samanya Jnanam. Samanya Jnanam is the awareness which is there all the time. Even when I'm asleep, I know I have slept well. Even when I'm dreaming, I know I am dreaming. When I'm awake, I know I am awake. So there is some awareness that is there all the time. All of us at all time have got this Samanya Jnanam or Swarupa Jnanam. But even though all of us have Swarupa Jnanam, we still suffer from ignorance of our true nature. Even though we have Swarupa Jnanam, we are still samsaris and bound by all these worldly affairs. So, what is the conclusion? Swarupa Jnanam or Samanya Jnanam cannot give liberation by itself. Swarupa Jnanam or Samanya Jnanam cannot give happiness by itself, although it is our very nature. I'll repeat the sentence. Merely possessing Swarupa Jnanam or Samanya Jnanam or Ajanya Jnanam will give us Purnatvam. We need specific knowledge. That is why we need Atma Bodha. We should have knowledge about ourselves. Now, I want you to understand this statement. Therefore, I need specific knowledge about myself. I need Vishesha Jnanam about my true nature, which is of the nature of Samanya Jnanam. I hope you get that point. What is that Vishesha knowledge? I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. I think I'm this body, and I think I'm this mind. But then I should know I am Nityaha, because now I identify with that awareness. I'm Nityaha, I'm Shuddhaha, I'm Buddhaha, I'm Muktaha. Now, this knowledge should come, and this knowledge comes through the process of studying Atma Bodha. So, we need subjective knowledge. We need a knowledge in which the subject is myself. We are already Atma, but Atma Bodha we do not have. And that is why we are studying this text. So, Atma Bodha is Janya Jnanam. It is a specific knowledge. It has to be produced by effort. And what is the means? By Guru and the text, this text itself. Now, is this Atma Bodha, this knowledge about my true nature, is it inert or is it conscious? For example, any knowledge has to be conscious. Now, the book that I have is inert, but the book is called Atma Bodha because even though the book is inert, the inert book, through the help of a guru, becomes alive, and it will help me to understand my true nature. And therefore, even the book is called Atma Bodha. So the book may be inert, but the book helps me to get enlightened about my true nature. So the book is also called Atma Bodha. Now, with this, let this be our goal. What is our goal? I want to know my true nature, that I am of the nature of permanent peace, security, and happiness. But this is covered, and I'm in the process of discovery. And that discovery happens through knowledge of my own self. For this knowledge, I will have certain blocks that have to be removed, and that is mala, vikshepa, avarana. And this is possible through various sadhanas like karma yoga, upasana yoga, and jnana yoga. In conclusion, the main problem is ignorance of my true nature. I do not know who I am. I think I'm this limited body mind complex. And because I think I'm limited, I have a desire to do something or the other. And because of desire, all this karma, krodha, and all that happens. This ignorance can be destroyed only by jnanam. And therefore, we have to study Atma Jnanam. To give us the first verse of Atma Jnanam, of Atma Bodha, and therefore Atma Jnanam. Dr. Anupama, please.
Thank you, sir. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Verse 1 is the introductory verse or prefix called Upodghata. It goes like this. Tapo bihi kshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshoyam atma bodho vidhiyate. In this verse, Adi Shankaracharya mentions the fourfold qualifications, the sadhana, chatustaya, sampatti, necessary to comprehend the text. The 4 Ds, as we know, discrimination or viveka, dispassion or vairagyam, discipline or shamadhi shatka sampatti, and desire for moksha or mumukshutvam. Those people who have viveka, the vivekis, are here called kshina papanam. Papam literally means sin. In the Vedantic context, however, papam means delusion or moham with respect to goals of life. It could be any obstacle to Vedanta. We need knowledge to hammer out, meaning we need moha mudgaram to destroy our delusion and become kshina papanams, resulting in priority for nitya vastu. So what is this delusion? It is a lack of clarity regarding the purpose of our lives. Initially, we rely on God for peace, happiness, and security. We soon make God one of our goals and realize that God is more reliable than everything else. And gradually, we realize God is the only reliable thing we have. With this, we develop Ishvara Arpana Bhavana and Prasada Buddhi. As Krishna says, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. So, what do we benefit from this attitude? There will be no anxiety as karta, and we develop samatvam as bhokta. Significantly, I will become a student of life, a pramata, a jnata. Parikshalokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedam ayat. This is jnana yogyata. Consequence being dispassion or vairagyam. So vitaraginam are those who have a reduction with priority for anitya vastu. Naturally, attachment for the Lord increases. Mumukshunam are those people who have an intense desire for moksha or liberation. This is called mumukshutvam. And finally, shantanam are people who have shamadhi shatka sampatti. This is accomplished through Ishvara Dhyanam, Upasana, Japa, Ashtanga Yoga. Primarily, it is an integration of personality, Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhana. What is tapas? It is the sadhana for acquiring each of these 4 qualifications. A tapobhihi is one who possesses jnana yogyata. Tapas is a religious way of life. It is God-centered life based on karma and upasana yoga, focused on the Veda Purva, the ethical part of the Vedas, making one an intelligent karta bhokta with Ishvara Arpana Bhavana and Prasada Buddhi. Adi Shankaracharya says, keeping such a qualified student in mind, sadhana chatushtaya sampatti adhikarina apekshya Atma Bodha vidhiyate. This textbook called Atma Bodha is prescribed by me. He means greater the qualification, greater the benefit. This introductory verse is also called Anubandha chatustayam. It is an appetizer which creates an interest in this text. It gives us information about the adhikari, meaning the eligible audience or the target group, which we know are the sadhana chatushtaya sampannas. It tells us about the vishaya, the subject matter, which is self-knowledge, prayojanam or benefit of this knowledge, which is moksha, and also sambandha or the connection between knowledge and benefit, janya janaka sambandha. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anupama, for giving us a very crisp explanation of the first verse of Tattva Bodha. Tattva Bodha is an introductory text. And in the course of the introductory text, all of us are preparing to learn the scriptures. In order to be able to understand the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads, we need to have this fourfold qualifications, also called sadhana chatustaya sampanna. The first is called viveka. I need to be able to discriminate between what is permanent and what is impermanent. We will discuss this when the time comes. To be able to focus on the permanent and give less interest to the impermanent is called vairagya. That means anything that I see and experience, including my body and mind, I don't give so much importance to. I give importance to something that is going to be more permanent. And this is possible through Shama Adi Shakta Sampatti, a certain mental discipline. And finally, that Tivra Mukshutvam, which he said, Swaraj is my birthright and I'm going to have it. Moksha is my birthright. And in this life, I'm going to have it. And if that desire is very strong, it is that burning desire to be able to be free in this life. And that is what is called Mumukshutva. So this is sadhana chatustaya sampanna. Dr. Anupama has also introduced another term called Anubandha chatustaya. What is Anubandha chatustaya? Anubandha is something that we should be able to know before we take up any spiritual text, or for that matter, any text. When you go to a bookshop and you're buying a book, you turn to the last cover to see what is this subject matter all about, and that is called Vishaya. Now, then we will say, is it for me? That is called adhikari. Am I eligible to study? Do I have the interest or the qualification? That is called adhikari. Whenever I'm studying something, we want to know what is the benefit. And the benefit is called prayojan. And then there is the term called sambandha. That means what is the connection between the knowledge and the benefit. And these things are very nicely brought out by Adi Shankara in the first verse, which Dr. Anupama explained. The second verse will be explained by Sukanya. Sukanya, please.
Hari Om, sir. Atma Bodha, I'll try to introduce it as per what I have studied. Atma Bodha is an introductory text by Adi Shankara aimed at those desirous of taking up spiritual journey. It has 68 beautiful poetic verses in Anushtup meter. Each verse has an illustration, making it very easy to understand. Atma means self, the all-pervading consciousness, our true nature, the very essence of every being. Apnoti iti Atma, that which pervades everything. Yet adatte iti Atma, that which resolves everything into self. Atti iti Atma, that Chaitanyam which experiences everything as witness. At sahatyam gamane, that which exists during all periods of time. Bodha means vritti, the thought, object of perception. Atma Bodha is not an objective knowledge, but aham chaitanya swarupam asmi iti jnanam. Atma Bodha is Atma Vishayaka Janya Jnana, supreme transcendental knowledge that leads to liberation. Next slide. Before undertaking the spiritual study, Vedantic definition of samsara, moksha, self-knowledge has to be clearly understood. Samsara is self-ignorance, also called agnana, not being aware of a real higher nature, a sense of limitation, a sense of incompleteness, therefore facing sorrow. Moksha is freedom from self-ignorance, samsara nivritti or agnana nivritti, only through attainment of atmagnana. Self-knowledge is inquiry of who am I, which alone is the direct means to attain liberation, no other. Why is self-knowledge supreme? There is nothing as purifying. The next slide, sir. There is nothing purifying as self-knowledge. Nahi gnanina sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate. And through this supreme knowledge, one attains everlasting peace. Gnanam ladha param shantim achirenadi gacchati. But people are rarely interested in this knowledge. Three things: human birth, desire for attaining this knowledge, and getting a competitive living guru is very difficult unless we have God's grace. Durlabham trayame vetat daivanugraha anugraham manishyatvam mumukshatvam mahapurusha samshayaha. Then next, one has to go through a lot of preliminary sadhanas to become competent to undertake Vedantic study. This process is called Jnana Abhyasa, pursuit of self-knowledge, which involves 4 stages. Karma Yoga for purification of mind, Upasana Yoga for refinement of the mind, Shravana for receiving knowledge, Manana for conviction of doubt-free knowledge, and finally Nididhyasam for assimilation of knowledge. The present verse emphasizes self-knowledge alone is the direct means to attain liberation, no other. Verse goes like this. Bodho anya sadhanebhyo hi sakshan mokshaika sadhanam pakasya vaknivadnanam bina moksho na siddhyate. Just as fire is the direct means for cooking, so too, in comparison with other means, self-knowledge is the single direct means for attainment of liberation. Anya sadhanebhyo hi, in comparison with other means, eka eva sakshat mokshaika sadhanam. Knowledge is the only direct means. Katham, how? Pakasya vaknivat. Just as fire is the direct means for cooking. Sakshat vakni eva pakasya karanam. Fire is the only means for cooking. Vakni bina pakaha na sambhavati. Without fire, cooking does not happen. Tathaiva, similarly, gnanam bina mokshaha na siddhyati. Without knowledge, moksha is not possible. Just as fire, heat is the cause of cooking, so too self-knowledge is the direct means for liberation. Next page, sir. There are many disciplines like sense control, mind control, ahara niyama, pranayama, tapaha, dana, all explained in Bhagavad Gita. Evam bahuvida yagna vitata brahmano mukhe. All these various sadhanas are contributory, supportive sadhanas. Self-knowledge alone is the primary direct means. Next. Self-knowledge is supreme and that alone gives moksha. Our conviction should be, I, the Atma, am avastatriya sakshi, panchakosha vilakshana, thus Atmanam avadharayet. Through self-enquiry into who am I is established. And why is it supreme? When self-knowledge is attained, the perception of duality ceases. Purnatam is experienced through knowledge of the known. That brings an end to sorrow, freedom from fear of old age, death and delusion, and freedom from the cycle of birth. About the importance of self-knowledge, Swamiji says, without self-knowledge, moksha is possible only under one condition. If the sky is rolled like a carpet from one end to the other. So, nothing more needs to be added to emphasize the importance. This is indicated in Shvetashopanishad. Then there is also a strong misconception by practicing puja, japa, going pilgrimages, chanting or meditating Lord names 1,000 times, yagnas, yagas, charities, etc. Moksha can be attained. These are no doubt sacred religious actions that may lead to higher lokas, but not moksha. Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti. After having enjoyed the merits of their karmas, they return to their earthly plane. These are finite results. Swamiji calls this Janya Janaka Sambandha. Shankaracharya, in his text Anatma Sri Vigaharana, says sadhakas may have reached Brahmaloka peeped into Vishnaloka or Shivaloka. But in spite of such accomplishments, what if they do not know themselves? All these accomplishments do not matter. Finally, the actual teaching of Vedanta begins from this verse. For advanced students, study of this prakarana gantha is like nididhyasanam. It's a step towards conviction of the understanding. Tat chintanam, tat kathanam, anyonyam tat prabodhanam, ekadeka paratvam cha tadabhyasam vidurbhuda. Dwelling upon this Vedic teaching, sharing this knowledge with others, interested, and revision for mutual understanding is nididhyasana. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Sukanya ji, for an excellent explanation of verse number 2 and giving all the knowledge that we require to be able to understand Atma Bodha, verse 2. What have we studied in this verse? See, we have many misconceptions about spiritual path. There are many path theories. That means through karma yoga, I can become enlightened. Through bhakti, I can become enlightened. Through meditations, I can become enlightened. Through various yatras, sadhanas, I can get enlightened. Our teachers say, and Adi Shankara in the second verse is very clear, all these sadhanas are very good. They give eligibility. All our teachers are enlightened. They have done all these sadhanas, but they know what makes a difference is our true knowledge. Just as fire or heat is a means for cooking and everything else is supporting, so too self-knowledge is the direct means for liberation. No other path. So the final path is only one, through knowledge of ourself. Dr. Asha Naik, please.
Om Gurubhyo Nama. Jai Gurudev. Avirodhitaya karma ya vidyam minirvayet. Vidya vidyam nihanti eva tejas timira sangavat. Next slide. Avirodhitaya karma, that is, since it is not opposed to the action. Second is na avidyam minirvayet. Ignorance cannot destroy it, that is efforts. Vidya, third, Vidya Vidyam Nahanti Eva. Knowledge alone can destroy ignorance. Fourth, Teja Timira Sangavat. As the light can destroy, this darkness. As light alone can remove darkness. Next slide. Now, next slide, sir. Shankaracharya calls any sadhana part together is karma. So all sadhanas other than jnanam come under karma. That means karma yoga is karma, upasana also is a karma. Now, manasam karma is mind thinking of a particular object. That also is karma. Even in Ashtanga yoga, also the physical organs, mind, sense organs, etc. do particular action. And therefore, all these come under karma only. Now, all these karma, remember, cannot give moksha. That is because karma cannot remove ignorance. You should remember that. Jnanam removes ignorance. And so Jnanam only can give moksha. Ignorance is like a virus which is caused by bhava roga. So karma avidyaya na nivartayet. Karma cannot remove ignorance. He gives reason, what is that? Avirodhataya, because karma is not opposed to ignorance. One can remove the other one only if the two are virodhis or enemies. Friends will reinforce each other. One enemies can cancel another or negate each other. If we analyze, we will find that karma is born out of ignorance, not directly, but indirectly. Now, next slide. That is I. According to Vedanta, I am paripurna aham. So because parichinna aham, because of that. That is, I am limited I. And I need not do anything because I don't have karma as well as desire. Even if I want to do karma, I cannot. Why? Because I am sarvagata, achala, sana, avikara. So I cannot do any karma because of that. Because when I don't know my nature, original nature, Purna Aham, I mistake myself as Apurna Aham. And once I become Apurna Aham, I end up in desires and incomplete I. Then I want to complete myself either by getting pravrutti or nivrutti. Next slide. Ajnana. And therefore, ajnanam creates a purnatvam, the sense of finitude. Now, this is very important word. Apurnatvam creates desire. Kama creates karma, that is actions. Therefore, karma fathers kama and kama fathers is apurvatam. Apurnatvam, mother, is avidya. So, mother and child will reinforce each other. So, karma reinforces kama. Because of this, kama and karma both reinforce ajnanam. Thus, more active person, more ignorance is reinforced. This you have to remember. Every action we do only reinforcing ignorance. And that is why it says karma bandhaya bhavati, vidya mokshaya bhavati. Therefore, avirodhataya, since they are not enemies, avidya na vinartayet. Knowledge alone will remove ignorance. Next slide. Now, example is teja timira sangavat. Just as light alone removes pitch darkness, like that knowledge removes ignorance. Hariyo.
Thank you very much, madam. What have we learned from this verse? This verse number 2, is to say that doing karma will not help us. It will help us, but karma will not give us moksha. Karma does not give moksha. Why? Because karma, whenever we do karma, it creates punya or papa. And each karma creates further, it creates a vicious cycle in itself. Now, karma itself is born out of ignorance. How is it born out of ignorance? I have a feeling that I am limited. And because I am limited, I do not know my true nature, I have avidya. Because of avidya comes kama. Kama comes karma. Karma comes to punarjanma. And therefore, this verse tells us that karma is not opposed to knowledge. Karma is opposed to knowledge. Karma cannot remove ignorance. Just like light alone can remove darkness, so too by doing more and more karma, it will not help us to attain to moksha. Now, sometimes it may wonder, why are we emphasizing so much? It is because there are a lot of misconceptions which believe that karma alone can give Parama Purushartha. So teachers will highlight to say, karma itself is a product of ignorance. Why do we do so much of actions? Because we feel that I am incomplete. A person who is complete has really nothing to do, nowhere to go. Not that they do not do anything. They do so many things, but they don't do anything for the sake of purnatvam or for the sake of completion. The last verse today will be explained by Indumati. Induji, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shloka number 4 goes like this. Parichinna ivagnanat tannashti sati kevalaha swayam prakashate hyatma megha payem shumaniva. We have seen earlier that karmas cannot give moksha because karma cannot remove ignorance. Jnanam can give moksha because jnanam removes ignorance. Because of ignorance, we do not know that I am a paripurna aham. So I become parichinna aham, that is a limited I. Therefore, ajnanam creates apurnatvam. It creates kamaha, desire. Kamaha creates karma, that is action. That is why it is said, karma bandhaya bhavati and vidya mokshaya bhavati. In the next slide, we have the example Tejas Timira Sanghavat, meaning light alone removes pitch darkness. The soul appears to be finite because of ignorance. When ignorance is destroyed, the self, which does not admit of any multiplicity, truly reveals itself by itself, like the sun when the clouds pass away. Now, the question arises as to why we should remove ignorance for getting moksha. It must be very clear that ignorance is the cause of samsara, which is a sense of limitation which cannot be removed by any other method because we are mortal having marana dharma. Now, we see that the problem is centered on I, and therefore the solution also must be centered on I. Here, Acharya says, hope is there in only one condition, and that is that you are already complete. And because of ignorance, you have a feeling that you are incomplete. The ignorance can be removed and completeness can be achieved. Ignorance has a sense of limitation, and this alone is the cause of samsara, which means dukkham. Therefore, dukkha nivritti is possible by paricheda nivritti, and paricheda nivritti is possible by agnana nivritti. Sorrow is a sense of incompleteness caused by a missing thing. Sorrow is paricheda or limitation. This limitation, which we call sorrow, is caused by ignorance because our true nature happens to be Purnatvam. Apurnatvam is nothing but self-forgetfulness, that is ignorance. Agnanat parichinna iva. This is the definition of samsara. Iva here means I am limited, as though it's a notion and not a fact. Moksha is nothing but getting out of this sense of limitation. Any notion is removed by right knowledge. A notion arises because of false knowledge. Moksha means kevalatvam, a firm conviction that aham purnaha. In the next slide, we see a shloka of Bhagavad Gita where Lord Krishna says, Apuryamana machala pratishtham samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kama kami. As the waters of different rivers enters the ocean, which, though full on all sides, remains undisturbed, likewise, he in whom all enjoyable merge themselves without causing disturbances attains peace, not he who hankers after such enjoyments. We see in the next slide, once agnanam is removed, swayam prakashatehi atma. Atma being the Swarupa Chaitanyam, swayam prakasha Chaitanyam, Atma shines by itself, which is self-evident. Concluding with the example of Sri Adi Shankaracharya, Megha paye Amshuman iva. Amshuman means Surya, who is Swayam Prakashaha. When the sun is covered by clouds, he appears to be non-shining. But when the wind or breeze removes the cloud, then the non-shining sun again becomes shining again, who is always a Swayam Prakashaha. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Induji, for a nice explanation of verse 4. What have we studied in verse 4? In verse 4, all of us are born with ignorance. What is ignorance? We are ignorant of our true nature. We do not know that I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. And because of ignorance, I have a sense of limitations. Now, how can this ignorance be destroyed? This ignorance can be destroyed by knowledge. This ignorance is compared in this example of the sun being covered by the clouds. And if by some technique the clouds can be removed, the sun of knowledge, which was always there, now reveals itself. Now, this is how we are going to study the Atma Bodha. We have studied 4 verses today, and in subsequent classes, we will study more verses. Each of these verses will highlight a Vedantic concept with beautiful examples. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
We have come to the end of today's satsanga, which has laid the foundation for our study of Atma Bodha text, and the main takeaway being how Gnana Sadhana takes precedence over every other means to realize our true self. Our profound gratitude to all the speakers and to our teacher, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, for a brilliant session. Param Vedanta thanks each one of you for your continued interest in the pursuit of Atma Vidya through our series of sessions, and also for your positive feedback. We meet again on coming Monday, the 16th of December, for the 57th session of Gift. I have an important information to share. All of you are aware Param Vedanta has been offering Guru Dakshina to all our gurus twice a year, once during Guru Purnima and again during Gita Jayanti. You have been a part of this offering all through, and we are indeed grateful for that. This year, Gita Jayanti falls on the 11th of December, and the window is open for us to offer our gratitude to the lotus feet of our gurus. I'm sure you will join us in this Guru Seva as always. Needless to mention, the decision to donate is purely voluntary. The entire amount of your offering thus collected will reach our gurus. The mode of payment and the account details are displayed on the screen. It will be also sent to you in all the groups. Those of you who decide to contribute may remit your Guru Dakshina to this account. Overseas listeners, please note that the amount will need to be transferred from an Indian account only. Details of Guru Dakshina offered will be shared with you all. And please don't forget to fill in the Google form, which will help us to issue the receipt. Thank you all for being with us on this divine journey. We conclude today's session with our usual Shanti mantra. O Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.